بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Alhamdulillah, welcome back to another lesson of Al-Ajurrūmiyyah. Just continuing on from last lesson, we covered that last lesson. The waw is the sign of raf in two instances, and the first one being is Jam'ul Mudhakkar as-Salim, the sound masculine plural. And we gave the example, جاء المعلمون, the teachers came, where the word al-muallimun is in the state of raf because it's fa'il. Also, the waw serves as the sign of raf in al-asma al-khamsa. So these are 5 specific words, provided that they are muzaf towards anything besides the ya al-mutakallim. Then in this situation, in the state of raf, this type of word which is mudaf towards the anything besides ya al-mutakallim will be signaled, sign and raf will be signaled with a waw. And we gave an example for each. We've already covered the al-asma al-khamsa, but just to reiterate, it's the word abun, akhun, hamun, famun, and dhu. There is another one, some people call it al-asma al-sitta, and they add the word hanun, which means private parts, but some people leave it out of courtesy. So they just deem it as al-asma al-khamsa. So whether in some grammar books you see al-asma al-sitta or al-asma al-khamsa, is still referring to the same concept. And we gave examples, abuka fil manzil, your father is in the house, wherein abuka is in the state of because it's mubtada'un and is signaled by the waw. Akhuka muallimun, your brother is a teacher. Again, akhuka is one of the 5 nouns. It's mudaf towards the pronoun ka. It's not necessarily needs to be mudaf towards a pronoun. It could be even an apparent noun. Ismun zahirun. So you could say akhu Zaydin muallimun. Zayd's brother is a teacher. Then we give another example. Hamuka tabibun. Your father-in-law is a doctor. So hamun means father-in-law. So tabibun means doctor. Then we give the example of fuka maftuhun. Your mouth is open. Normally this word is famun, but when it's mudaf towards anything, the meme drops off and it becomes fuka. So the last one was ذو مال غني. The possessor of wealth is rich. Now, because we are covering the text of Al-Ajurrūmiyyah, which is in the highlighted box here, and then followed by the translation and explanation, what we intend to do is just give a bit more in terms of grammatical information as we're going along. So here, I think it's probably best to explain a bit more of Jam'ul Mudhakkarun Salimun. Jam'ul Mudhakkar as-Salim. Jam'ul Mudhakkar as-Salim. Some books it says Al-Jam'u al-Mudhakkaru as-Salim, which is sound, or you can make it possessive and say Jam'ul Mudhakkar as-Salim. What type of words can you make as sound masculine plural? So rules regarding the sound masculine plural, that's what we want to, inshallah, delve into a little bit. So once we understand what type of words can fit the bill of becoming Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim, then we'll understand it's more than just saying the words like Alimuna, Salihuna, etc. Hopefully, inshallah, we'll get a better picture in regards to the sound masculine plural. And then we'll come back to the book, inshallah, following the i'rab of the different declinable words. So the first is, what kind of words can you make sound masculine plural of? To qualify, the noun must refer to a rational male. So if we're referring to something irrational, like for example, qalamun, we can't formulate that as a sound masculine plural and say qalamuna. So it has to be a rational male for it to qualify. So the first is under proper nouns, actually. Let's go back. So sound masculine plural, if it's a proper noun, okay, then to qualify, it has to be rational male and be free of both the feminine ta and compound structures. So for example, Ahmadu. When we say the word Ahmad is a proper noun, it's a name of a person, it's a rational male, and it's free from the feminine ta, as opposed to the word Hamzatu, because we can't say Hamzatuna. So Ahmad is free from the feminine ta, is free from the compound structures. So for example, we're saying Abdullah, that's a compounded structure. So we can't say Abdullah, we can't bring that as Jam'ul Mudhakkarun Salimun. So it has to be free from the feminine ta and a compound structure. Whether that's an idafa structure or it's murakkab man'i sarf. So Sa'idun, same thing as well. The singular form is Sa'idun. The plural, we can pluralize it as the sound masculine plural and add the una sound and say Sa'iduna because we don't have a ta at the end when we say Sa'id. Same thing with Khalid. Khalid. To pluralize it, we can say Khaliduna because it's free from the feminine ta. It's a rational male and it's not involved in a compounded structure. Next, adjectives. Now, adjectives must describe a rational male as well. So if you want to pluralize an adjective as a sound masculine plural, Jam'ul Mudhakkar Salim, it must be rational, so same thing as the previous one, and be free from the feminine ta as well. So they must also meet one of the following two conditions. It should be able to accept the feminine ta. That does not mean that the feminine ta is there. What it means is that it must have an opposition to it and it's able to accept that. For example, katibun, which means scribe, male scribe. We can have the opposite of that in terms of gender, and we can say katibatun. So it's potentially can have and accept the feminine ta. We're not talking about it having the feminine ta, it's able to accept the feminine ta. So we can say katibatun. So that fits the criteria. So the condition is met. So katibun, it's rational. It's free from the feminine ta, but able to accept the feminine ta if it needs to be changed into the feminine gender. So hence we can say katibuna, alimuna, salihuna. Now this is the common one normally people are familiar with. For example, they say muslimun, muslimuna, etc. Mu'minun, mu'minuna. Next, it's superlative is ismu tafdhil. For example, akmaluna, afdaluna, a'lamuna. Here it says meets one of the following two conditions. Okay, I think the condition has already been mentioned before, which is the rational male. So that will probably be the other condition. Number two, if it is a superlative ismu tafdhil, for example, if we've got comparative nouns or superlative nouns, what are superlative and comparative nouns? They are the nouns that come on the scale of af'alu, the masculine singular, af'alani, the dual masculine, and af'aluna for plural masculine. And then for the feminine is fu'la, fu'layani, fu'layatun, and fu'alu. Actually, for the masculine, there's another one, af'aluna, for the plural masculine, and afa'ilu. So if we look at this, the superlative form, akmalu, which means more complete, or the most complete if it's superlative meaning. Afdalu, the best or better than. A'lamu, more knowledgeable or most knowledgeable. So if we look at this, we can form this into sound masculine plural. So the superlative form can be pluralized as the sound masculine plural, and we can say akmaluna, afdaluna, a'lamuna. Then we have the following patterns cannot be made into a sound masculine plural. Okay, the following patterns cannot be made into a sound masculine plural. So let's cover those. Colors and defects. So when we're dealing with colors, and we have a special or specific category for or pattern when it comes to colors, and that's af'alu, but that is different to the superlative form af'alu. Because when you conjugate and when you look at the paradigm of ismu tafdhil, it's like what I just mentioned before. Af'alu, af'alani, af'aluna, and afa'ilu is another form for the plural masculine. And then it was fu'la, fu'layani, fu'layatun, and fu'alu. Whereas when it comes to colors, these don't conjugate in the same manner. So af'alu will mean one single masculine, So ahmaru, red for masculine. Now, if we want to make it dual, yes, we can say ahmarani. Okay, that will mean two red masculines, whether we're referring to, an item, etc., two red books or whatever, etc. Now, the plural won't be ahmaruna, it'll be humrun. Humrun with a sukoon. And then fa'la'u would be fa'la'u, fa'la, wani, and then fu'lu as well. Fu'lun. So, for example, we have hamra'u, hamrawani, and humrun. So we can see from here that if it's colors and defects, which come on the scale of af'alu, and the feminine is fa'la'u, we can't pluralize that as a sound masculine plural. So we can't say ahmaruna, because the plural form for colors and defects is fu'lu. Okay, so that's the same thing that will go with the words like a'ma, which means blind, a'raj, someone who uh, has a limp. So we will see a'war as well. So these are defects, patterns of defect. They won't conjugate with the una sound. Then any word that comes on the scale of fa'lan and fa'la, you can't pluralize it as the sound masculine plural. So for example, sakran means someone who's drunk but male. And the feminine version is sakra, which is a female who is drunk. Now we can't pluralize sakran. Sakra is out of question. Same thing with hamra, because we're talking about masculine. But just to bring it on par with the masculine form, we just brought it together. So these girls you can't pluralize as the sound masculine plural. So we can't say sakranuna, okay? Because sakran, the plural will be sukara. Like in the Quran, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la taqrabu as-salata wa antum sukara. So sakran, patterns or words that come on the pattern of fa'lan can't be pluralized as the sound masculine plural. Therefore, we can't say sakranuna. Shared gender adjectives. Words used identically for males and females, such as jarihun and saburun. Now, this scale of fa'il or fa'ul can be shared between masculines and feminines. So, for example, if somebody says Zainab is wounded, you can say Zainabu jarihun. And you can say Zaydun jarihun, Zayd is wounded. Because the fa'il pattern is shared amongst the masculine and feminine. So for that reason, shared gender adjectives, this pattern, fa'il or fa'ul, you can't bring the sound masculine plural of these words. So we can't say jarihuna, and we can't say sabu or runa. Okay, so these won't be pluralized in that way. And jarih, another thing to remember, this scale of fa'il can come in the meaning of ismul maf'ul or ismul fa'il. So for example, qatil can mean qatil, the killer, murderer, and it could also mean maqtul. Now, one may ask the question, how do you know if it's in the meaning of qatil or maqtul? Well, that is based on the context. You will have to see what's come before, the siyaq of the kalam, the context of the sentence and the discourse will have to be taken into consideration. So shared gender adjectives, you can't pluralize them as a sound masculine plural. Specifically female adjectives. So for example, murdi'un. So now look at this ismul fa'il here, which is from arda'a yurdi'u irda'an, which means to nurse, breastfeed. So murdi'un, it seems it's masculine. There's no ta'u ta'nith, but it's used actually for feminine adjective. And what's happened is that, like in our previous lessons, we said that when it comes to adjectives or describing words such as ismul fa'il, ismul maf'ul, if that specific description and adjective is designated to the female gender, then there is no need to bring the ta. So there's no need to say murdi'atun because it's females that breastfeed and nurse the child, not males. So therefore we can say murdi'un and leave out the ta instead of saying murdi'atun. And that's the same thing with the word ha'idun. Ha'idun, menstruating woman. So there's no need to say ha'idatun. Pregnant woman, hamilun. There's no need to say hamilatun. So those words that are female adjectives, but on the apparent they seem masculine, you can't pluralize them as a sound masculine plural because then they will refer to males, and it'll be wrong to say murdi'una. So how do you pluralize these? Well, you just add alif and ta with the suffix of the alif and ta. So murdi'atun, hamilatun, ha'idatun, which we've covered before. Okay. So initially at the top we've mentioned which words you can pluralize as jam'ul mudhakkar salim, and then at the bottom we are covering the words which we can't pluralize as jam'ul mudhakkar salim. And then we have adjectives with the ta. So it's referring to a male, but you can't, because it's got a round ta at the end, ta and marbuta, we can't pluralize it as sound masculine plural. So for example, allamatun means very learned man. So Zaydun allamatun. Zayd is a very learned man, or Zayd is very learned. Now this ta is not to define gender. It's actually there for mubalagha, because a ta in Arabic does not only come for ta'nith. Sometimes it can come for shiddah. So for example, yawmul qiyamati, day of standing, i.e. day of intense standing, because it's going to be, yawmul hisab, yawmul taghabun, winning and losing, day of reckoning. So the standing is not going to be easy. So yawmul qiyamati. So the ta is not always to denote something being feminine. It could be there for shiddah, or it could be there for to denote a magnitude of something. So talabul ilmi faridatun ala kulli muslim. Seeking sacred knowledge is a big obligation. Yani faridatun azimatun. So the ta there in the hadith of our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is for ta'zim, like it's a great obligation. So same thing here as well. Zaydun allamatun. Zayd is very learned. I rajulun azimun, or rajulun zu ilmin azimin. Someone who possesses great knowledge. So allamatun, it's an adjective with a ta, even though it's reference to masculine, we cannot pluralize this as a sound masculine plural. So this is something which I've gathered from various grammar books, and I thought it will be beneficial if I do mention it in terms of more information in regards to the sound masculine plural. And this information will be found in the book as well, inshallah. So once the course is completed, inshallah, the plan is to publish the book, and those who are enrolled in the course will get a free copy of the book as well. So inshallah, everything you find in this PowerPoint in terms of the summaries, the footnotes, etc., inshallah, you will receive at the end of the course in the form of a publication, inshallah. So now coming back to the text of Al-Ajurrūmiyyah, now Musannif alayhi rahmah, what does it say? وَأَمَّا الْأَلِفُ فَتَكُونُ عَلَامَةً لِلرَّفْعِ في تثنية الأسماء خاصة. So let's read that again. وأما الألف فتكون علامة للرفع في تثنية الأسماء خاصة, which translates as for the alif, it serves as a sign of raf, nominative case. I don't keep using that word, but I've just put it for the sake of people who do study Arabic grammar through English. Then these terms they may find useful. So it's a sign of raf في تثنية الأسماء, in the dual form of nouns خاصة only. So alif serves as the sign of raf for nouns which refer to two or are dual. So dual nouns refer to two of something. Example, حضر المدرسان. The two teachers came. Now, if you look at this noun here, al-mudarrisan, it means two teachers. It's the dual form of the word mudarris, which means teacher. All we just have done is add the alif and the noon as a suffix, and it's become two teachers. And the alif is indicating that this word is in the state of raf. Now, why is the word al-mudarrisan in the state of raf? Because it's the fa'il of hadara. And we've covered as well under marfu'at that fa'il is a position a noun finds itself to be in, that it will be deemed to be in the state of raf. Then we have another example, which is the feminine one. ذهبت الطالبتان. The two students went. The two students went. So if you look at ذهبت, it's the feminine form. That's why, because الطالبتان is referring to two female students. So طالبتان is the dual form of طالبة, which means a female student. Why is this word in the state of raf? Same reason as the one before. It's the fa'il of ذهبت, which means went. These are the doers of the verb ذهبت. What's the sign of this word being in the state of raf? The alif. So keep that in mind. Alif is a sign of raf in nouns which are dual only. Now we have the quasi-dual nouns. So mulhaq bil-muthanna. So they are those words that follow the rule of words which are dual as well. For example, ithnan. So normally we said mudarris, make it dual, we add alif and nun as a suffix and it becomes mudarrisan. We can't say ithnan was dualized from no. So these are known as the quasi-dual nouns, i.e. they follow the rules of a muthanna word, a word which is dual. So specifically ithnan and ithnatan, two. So ithnan is used for masculine, ithnatan means is used for feminine. Kila also, which means both, it's used for masculine, and kilta, which also means both, it's used for feminine. Function like the standard dual nouns by using an alif to indicate the state of raf. Now let's look at examples. وصل اثنان من المسافرين. Two travelers arrived. Instead of literally translating two of the travelers arrived, just two travelers arrived will do. Now look at the word ithnan. It's a dual word. It's referring to two, but it's not dualized by adding an from a singular form. So that's why we'll say it's mulhaq bil muthanna. It's quasi-dual noun. And what's the sign of this word being in the state of raf? The alif. And why is the word ithnan in the state of raf? Because of the fa'il. It's the doer of the verb wasala. Example of ithnatan. سافرت اثنتان من السائحات. Two female tourists traveled. Okay, so السائحات means female tourists. Ithnatan means two, so two of the female tourists. سافرت traveled. So look at ithnatan. It's a quasi-dual noun, mulhaq bil muthanna. It follows the rule of a dual word in terms of declining in i'rab. It's experienced in the state of raf because it's the doer of the verb safarat. So that's why we're going to say ithnatani. Example of kila is حضر المعلمان كلاهما. Both teachers attended or were present. Now the thing with kila is it's used as a possessive phrase. It can be possessive towards a pronoun and sometimes it's possessive towards an apparent noun. Most of the times you will see it's possessive towards a pronoun. So حضر المعلمان كلاهما. So both of the teachers arrived. So the two teachers arrived, both of them. It's going to be a bit literal. So حضر المعلمان, two teachers arrived, كلاهما, or two teachers were present, كلاهما, both of them. So it more or less comes for emphasis. So let's break this down. حضر is a verb which means were present. Al-Mualliman means two teachers. So that is straightforward, a dual noun. So the word Al-Mualliman is in the state of Raf because it's the fa'il of hadara. So that's signaled by the alif. Why is kila in the state of Raf now? That's the question. Well, kila is reinforcing the word al-mualliman, because if we just say the two teachers came, that will be hadara al-muallimani. But now we're adding stress, we're adding emphasis. So we're saying both of them. And in Arabic, we'll learn later on in this course as well that there are certain words that follow the previous in Arab. We've actually touched upon it. One is ta'keed. So a word which emphasizes another word, it will follow its Arab. So kila is the word emphasizing the word al-mualliman, so it will follow the Arab of al-mualliman. Therefore, we will say kilahuma, same sign of the Arab because it's a mulhaq bil muthanna. It's a quasi-dual noun, kilahuma. So both teachers were present. Then we have the feminine example. So I thought I'll add the masculine and the feminine. So حضرت المعلمتان كلتاهما. Both female teachers attended. So again, حضرت is the verb, past tense verb, which means attended or were present. المعلمتان, two teachers. Why is this in the state of Raf? Because the fa'ila of the verb حضرت, and that is signaled by the alif. المعلمتان. Now, why is the word kilta in the state of Raf? Well, the word kilta is reinforcing the word muallima tani, and therefore it's going to be in the state of Raf because ta'keed, the reinforcing word, follows the mu'akkad, the reinforced word. And because both are considered to be dual, that's why they've declined with an alif, and we're saying kilta huma. So that is the breakdown of the text which is mentioned in Al-Ajurrūmiyyah. وَأَمَّا الْأَلِفُ فَتَكُونُ عَلَامَةً لِلرَّفْعِ فِي تَثْنِيَةِ الْأَسْمَاءِ خَاصَّةً. وَأَمَّا النُّونُ فَتَكُونُ عَلَامَةً لِلرَّفْعِ. So if you look at the top corner here, it says نِيَابَةُ النُّونِ عَنِ الضَّمَّةِ. So pay attention to the PowerPoint slides here, because what we're talking about is, right at the beginning, we said Dhamma is the primary sign of Raf. Then we have those that deputize for the Dhamma. So if I just quickly go back, we got Niyabatul Alif and Dhammati, and we go back before that, we got Niyabatul Wawi and Dhammati. So those that deputize for the Dhamma, one was the Waw, then we had the Alif, and now we got the Noon. So when does the Noon deputize for the Dhamma? Because the Dhamma is the primary sign. وأما النون فتكون علامة للرفع في الفعل المضارع إذا اتصل به ضمير تثنية أو ضمير جمع أو ضمير المؤنث المخاطبة. So let's get the translation down. So just remember the text in the shaded area here at the top is Al-Ajurrūmiyyah text. So now we're doing the translation. As for the letter Noon, وأما النون فتكون علامة للرفع. It is a sign of Raf. في الفعل المضارع, in the present tense verb, or known as the imperfect tense verb, فعل مضارع, when إذا اتصل به ضمير تثنية, when a pronoun of duality, أو ضمير جمع plurality, أو ضمير المؤنث المخاطبة, or the feminine second person is attached to it. اتصل به. And what you mean by the second person feminine is when you are addressing a female. So this is the text. In Al-Ajurrūmiyyah, we will find some places examples are provided. A lot of places examples are not provided. So that's why we've designed this course to open up the text of Al-Ajurrūmiyyah. So let's look at an example. Pronoun of duality, okay, is attached to the verb فعل مضارع. So here we have تساعدان الفقراء. You to help the poor. So there's a mistake there. Came is not part of the translation. So let's just quickly annotate that. We can just put a little box in there. Okay, causing a bit of disruption. So pronoun of duality, example, تساعدان الفقراء. You two help the poor. Now, if you look at this verb here, تساعدان, it's from ساعد يساعد مساعدة, which means to help, aid, and support. تساعدان, it's referring to two masculines. So you two, it could even refer to two feminines. So two females. تساعدان, it's a pronoun of duality is attached to it, which is the ani sound. So in the state of raf, the pronoun of duality, the anis and the noon, the retention of the noon is the sign that this verb is in the state of raf. So let me repeat that again. The retention, thubut, of the noon, okay, indicates that this verb is in the state of raf. Because had it been in the state of nasb, so let's just say, for example, we were to put the word len before it, you two will not aid the poor. So len, the noon would have dropped off, which we'll learn later on. So for the fact that the noon is suffixed to the word tusa'idani, is attached, ittisal has taken place with the fa'il mudari, the noon is still there, is retained. That's a sign that this fa'il mudari is in the state of raf. Also, damirul jam. So I'm not giving an example of all the plural ones because you can have tuhibbuna, you can have yuhibbuna. Okay, but we're just giving the third person example. Yuhibbuna al-mala. They love wealth. So yuhibbuna is from ahabba yuhibbu ihbaban, which means to love. So yuhibbuna is the plural form, masculine, third person. So yuhibbu yuhibbani yuhibbuna. They love. Al-mala, wealth. So if you look at this fa'il mudari, we can see that the noon of the plural, because now it's referring to plural, we're not saying yuhibbani, we're saying yuhibbuna. The fact that it's attached to the fa'il mudari is a sign that this fa'il mudari is in the state of raf. So the retention of the noon is a sign that yuhibbuna is in the state of raf. Had it been in the state of jazm or nasb, this noon would have dropped off. For example, if somebody was saying they did not like wealth, lam yuhibbu al-mala, or they will not love wealth, lan yuhibbu al-mala. So the noon would have dropped off. The fact that it's there is it's a sign of raf. And the example of feminine second person, tad'urusina darsa. You are studying the lesson, addressing a female. Tad'urusina, taf'alina pattern. So you are studying the lesson. Now we can see here the noon has remained. Okay, so the dhamir, this will be considered to be the dhamir of the second person feminine. The fact that the noon is there is a sign that this verb tadrusina is in the state of raf. Let's say we were to say you did not study the lesson and add the word lam before it. Then the noon would have dropped off and we would have said lam tadrusi ad-darsa. You did not study the lesson, or you will not study the lesson, making the state of nasb. It'll be lan tadrusi ad-darsa. So one thing to note here, the retention of the noon in the fa'il mudari when the pronoun, dual pronoun, or the plural pronoun, or the pronoun of the second person feminine is retained, that is the sign of raf. When it's removed, then it could possibly be nasb or jazm. We will have to see what has come before the verb to determine that. So that's the explanation of the text here. Now let's summarize the signs of raf, because what we have done is now we've come to a certain part where we can say, okay, we need to step back and digest what we have learned so far. So every now and then we will find summaries in this course and also in the actual publication, inshallah, when we publish the book, that there's summaries after a certain amount of coverage of the book, just to digest the points and then to reconsolidate, to consolidate our learning. So خلاصة علامات الرفع, the summary of the signs of raf. So علامات الرفع, what were the signs of raf? So first we had the primary sign, which was al-dhammatu. So dhamma. Okay. Then we had al-wawu, the waw, which these are the non-primary signs, or you could say these are the ones that fill in for the dhamma because they are found to be in specific words, etc. Alif also is a sign of the state of raf. Which type of words, inshallah, will come and cover those in the summary on the next slide. And also the noon. So the noon, when you say the noon, we are referring to the fail mudari when we refer to the noon. So retaining of the noon is a sign of raf. So these are the four signs of raf. Dhamma being the primary and the others filling in for the dhamma. Now, breaking it down. Al-dhammatu. Dhamma is a sign of raf. Which type of word? A noun which is al-ismul mufrad, a singular noun. So we're not talking about dual, we're not talking about plural. Dhamma will be the sign. Okay. What else would be the sign? It'll be the sign in jam'u taksir. What's jam'u taksir? Jam'u taksir is a broken plural. So when you're formulating from the singular to the plural, the form of the singular no longer remains. So we have qalamun, and we say aqlamun, or rajulun, or rijalun. The form of the singular no longer remains. Okay. Next, we have jam'ul muannathis salim, the sound feminine plural. Okay. So the sound feminine plural. So for example, we got muslimatun and we say muslimatun. So in these type of words as well, we will see that the dhamma is the sign. And we've given examples. So for al-ismul mufrad, we just say, for example, هذا كتاب. This is a book. كتاب مرفوع because the khabar. جمع التكسير جاء رجال. Men came. So we can see that the word rijal is in the state of raf. But because we're just doing a summary, there's no need to go and repeat everything again. And the fa'il mudari, dhamma is a sign in the fa'il mudari provided الفعل المضارع غير المتصل بآخره شيء. The dhamma is a sign provided that the fa'il mudari does not have anything attached to it at the end. And more specifically, we are referring to the five patterns يفعل, تفعل, تفعل, أفعل, and نفعل. So these verbs, the imperfect tense verbs, these will be the sign of raf. The sign of raf will be signaled by a dhamma. Next, our next sign, let's get rid of that annotation which we did earlier on. Okay, there we go. The waw. When would the waw be a sign of raf? Okay, in jam'ul mudhakkar salim, sound masculine plural words. So for example, we've got ja al-muslimuna, the Muslims came. The waw, so the waw will also be a sign of raf in al-asma al-khamsa, the five nouns. So akhun, abun, hamun, famun, and dhu, provided that it's mudhaf towards anything besides ya'ul mutakallim. Next one, we have alif is a sign of raf in a word which is dual, tathniyatul asma. So dual nouns, and also quasi-dual nouns as well. Noon. The noon is a sign of raf in which type of words? Well, ضمير تثنية in the imperfect tense verb فعل مضارع, provided that it has the pronoun, the dual pronoun attached to it. So the ani sound, يفعلان, تفعلان. ضمير الجمع, so the noon of plural, masculine. So يفعلون, تفعلون. The retention of the noon is a sign that the word is in the state of raf. And finally, we have the sign of raf is noon, the retention of the noon in the ضمير المؤنث المخاطبة, the second person feminine. So تفعلين pattern. So the retention of the noon in that pattern signals that that particular verb will be in the state of raf. Now moving on now, وَلِلنَّصْبِ خَمْسُ عَلَامَاتٍ. And the state of nasb. How do we know a word is in the state of nasb? We've covered that in our earlier slides. If I'm not wrong, it was in lesson 4. So وَلِلنَّصْبِ خَمْسُ عَلَامَاتٍ. So the signs of nasb are 5. So al-fathatu, which is a primary sign, which is fatḥah, al-alif, al-kasrah, al-ya, and hadf al-noon, the deletion of the noon. So let's look at the translation first. And for the nasb, there are 5 signs. وَلِلنَّصْبِ خَمْسُ عَلَامَاتٍ. They are the fatḥah, the alif, the kasrah, the ya, and the omission, or you could say the deletion of the noon. So let's look at an example, because the examples are not provided in Al-Ajurrūmiyyah. So let's look at an example. So fatḥah, and this is the primary and most common sign of nasb. For example, كَتَبَ رِسَالَةً. He wrote a letter. So we can see the word risalatan is experiencing the state of nasb because it's the maf'ul bihi of the verb kataba. So we're assuming kataba has a pronoun here. So it probably would have been better to say kataba Zaydun risalatan. Zayd wrote a letter. So the word risalatan, we can see the state of nasb is marked by a fatḥah, which shows that this word is in the state of nasb. And why is it in the state of nasb? Maf'ul bihi. Alif, it replaces the fatḥah in the 5 nouns. So remember the 5 nouns we mentioned before, abun, akhun, hamun, famun, and zu, provided that they are mudaf towards anything besides ya al-mutakallim. In those type of words, when we see an alif, that's an indicator and marker that that word is in the state of nasb. So for example, here we have ra'aytu abaka, I saw your father. So we have the verb and the file, ra'aytu, I saw. Abaka, your father. So this is in the state of nasb, the word aba, because it's the maf'ul bihi of the verb ra'aytu. Next, kasrah, it replaces the fatḥah in the sound feminine plurals. So for example, zurtul mudarrisati, I visited the female teachers. So we can see here zurtu is fi'l and the fa'il. So we've got the verb and we've got the doer, which is the two. Al-mudarrisat here is the maf'ul bihi. But notice here that the maf'ul bihi don't have a fatḥah, because sound feminine plural words in the state of nasb, they won't have a fatḥah, they'll actually have a kasrah. So don't get mistaken here and read zurtul mudarrisata thinking, oh, it's maf'ul bihi, it has to have a fatḥah. No. Sound feminine plural words in the state of nasb will have a kasrah. So therefore we'll say zurtul mudarrisati. A bit like in the Quran, أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ. Allah has prepared for them gardens. Allah don't say jannatan, jannatin, even though it's maf'ul bihi. Then we have the ya. It replaces the fatḥah. When we say it replaces, we're saying it deputizes for the fatḥah, because fatḥah is the original marker of the state of nasb. In dual forms and sound masculine plurals. For example, رَأَيْتُ الطَّالِبَيْنِ. I saw the 2 students. So طالبين in the default state, the rough state, would be طالباني. But dual words in the state of nasb, they decline with a ya. So we won't say رأيت الطالباني, it'll be grammatically incorrect. We will say رأيت الطالبين. As dual nouns, in the state of nasb, they decline with a ya, the aini sound. Why is the word at-talibain in the state of nasb? It's the maf'ul bihi of the verb ra'aytu. The sound masculine plural, for example, ra'aytu al-muhandisina. I saw the engineers. So muhandisina is the plural of muhandisun. So it's a sound masculine plural. So the ya places the fatḥah, well, it deputizes for the fatḥah because we can't give the fatḥah on sound masculine plural words. So what would deputize for the fatḥah? The ya, the ina sound. because normally this word would be al-muhandisuna in the rough state. So because it's in the nasb state, we will say ra'aytul muhandisina. And why is the word al-muhandisin in the state of nasb? It's the maf'ul bihi of the verb ra'aytu. Next, the deletion of the noon or the omission of the noon, it replaces the fatha in the 5 verbs. 5 verbs we're saying the 5 scales. So yaf'alani, taf'alani times 3. So taf'alani, taf'alani, taf'alani. Why? Because it can refer to second person feminine, third person feminine, second person masculine, or second person feminine. So yaf'alani, taf'alani. So taf'alani, it fits in for 3 cases. Then we have yaf'aluna, and we have taf'aluna, and then we have taf'alina. So that's 5. So in these 5, they are known as al-af'al al-khamsa, which we've covered before. So that's yaf'alani, taf'alani times 3. That's 2 now. Then we had taf'aluna, yaf'aluna, and taf'alina. That's 5. These are known as al-af'al al-khamsa. In the state of nasb, the noon will be omitted, and that will be the sign. The omission of the noon will be the sign that that word is in the state of nasb. So look at this. Lan yaf'ala, they will not do. What's signaling that yaf'ala is in the state of nasb? The removal of the noon. Remember, the omission of the noon don't always necessarily suggest the state of nasb automatically. We will have to see what particle has come before it. If it's a particle of jazm, so for example lam, then the fi'l mudhari will be in the state of jazm. So it could possibly be nasb or jazm, and that will be decided by what has come before the fi'l mudhari. In this case, it's nasb because lan is harfu nasbin. Next, فأما الفتحة فتكون علامة للنصب في 3 مواضع. The fatha, it is a sign of nasb in 3 instances. So again, we're going to cover the primary sign. So fil ismil mufrad, the singular noun, wa jam'i taksir, the broken plural. We don't need to explain these terms now because we've already covered them. والفعل المضارع إذا دخل عليه ناصب ولم يتصل بآخره شيء. So this is a text of Al-Ajurrūmiyyah. Let's get the translation. And as for the fatḥah, فأما الفتحة فتكون علامة للنصب في 3 مواضع. It is a sign of nasb in 3 instances. What are those 3 instances? في الاسم المفرد, in the singular noun, وجمع التكسير, the broken plural, والفعل المضارع, and the present tense verb, إذا دخل عليه ناصب, when a particle of nasb enters upon it, ولم يتصل بآخره شيء, and nothing is attached to its end. Why we're saying that? Because if noon niswa, the plural feminine is attached to it, then the noon actually remains. Okay. So let's give the examples first. The singular noun, for example, qara'tu kitaban, I read a book. So look at the word kitaban. It's a singular word, ismul mufrad, and it's in the state of nasb because maf'ul bihi, because that's what's been read, and it's signaled by a fatḥah. qara'tu kitaban. Remember, the alif here is not the sign, the fatḥah is the sign. So probably the red should have been on the full ba. Okay, because the alif is not the tanween, the fatḥah is the sign, the fatḥatayn. Okay, the broken plural, for example, sami'tu aswatan, I heard voices. So again as well, the fatḥah is the sign, aswatan, I heard voices. So here, the word aswat is in the state of nasb because the maf'ul bihi of sami'tu. Maf'ul bihi of sami'tu. I heard voices. So sawt, the plural is aswat, because see the form of the singular no longer remains. So in these type of words, in the state of nasb, the fatha will be the sign. Sami'tu aswatan. The present tense verb without a suffix. So we're talking about yaf'alu, taf'alu, taf'alu times 2 times 2, yeah. For the third person feminine and the second person masculine. So يفعل, تفعل, تفعل, and أفعل and نفعل. So these scale, these verb patterns, when we see a fatha at the end of these verbs, that means that verb is in the state of nasb. So لن يذهب, he will not go. So we can see يذهب before it was يذهب, because lan has entered upon it, it's become لن يذهب. And that is the state of nasb is signaled by the fatha. So lan is the word that governs يذهب in the state of nasb. That's why it'll be known as nasib. Okay. وأما الألف فتكون علامة للنصب في الأسماء الخمسة. Alif is a sign of nasb in أسماء الخمسة, the 5 nouns, which we mentioned was أخ, أب, حم, فم, and ذو, provided it is mudhaf towards anything besides ياء المتكلم. And وما أشبه ذلك, and words similar to that. So it's given an example here. So رأيت أباك, I saw your father. So let's get the translation. And as for the alif, وأما الألف فتكون علامة للنصب, it is a sign of nasb في الأسماء الخمسة, in the 5 nouns, such as رأيت أباك, I saw your father. وأخاك, and your brother. Now why is the word أباك in the state of nasb? It's the maf'ul bihi of the verb رأيت. In ra'aytu, we got the fa'il and the fa'il, which is I saw, that makes the word abaka in the state of nasb. So it's one of the 5 nouns, which is mudhaf towards something which besides ya al-mutakallim. So we're going to say abaka. Notice in the state of raf, it would have been abuka, but we're talking about state of nasb here now in these 5 nouns. So it's going to decline with an alif. Wa akhaka, and your brother. So again, it's declined with the alif. Well, we know why abaka is in the state of nasb. It's the maf'ul bihi. Haba akhaka. Well, akhaka is doing atf, is joined onto the word abaka. So the word which we join onto, which is non-ma'tuf, will follow the i'rab of the word which we join onto. So akhaka will be ma'tuf, it's the word which we've joined, and what we've joined it onto is abaka will be known as ma'tuf alayh. So that's why akhaka is following the i'rab of abaka. وما أشبه ذلك, and similar examples. So the 5 nouns, example, I've just given an example here. أكرمت أباك وأخاك وحماك وذا علم. So we've just given all 4 here. I honored your father, أكرمت أباك, وأخاك, your brother, وحماك, your father-in-law, وذا علم, and the one possessing knowledge. And اغسل فاك, we've just put this as a separate example, wash your face. So we can see here, faka is in the state of nasb because it's acting as the maf'ul bihi of the imperative verb اغسل. So when it says and similar, that means you can give the similar examples for the other remaining 5 nouns. وأما الكسرة فتكون علامة للنصب في جمع المؤنث السالم. Now as for the kasrah, it serves as a sign of nasb in the sound feminine plural. So let's look at an example. درست الطالبات, I taught the female students. So the word here الطالبات is sound feminine plural. So it ends with the at sound. So sound feminine plurals in the state of nasb, they'll decline with the kasrah. So the kasrah is deputizing. So look at the top here. We're saying نيابة الكسرة عن الفتحة. The kasrah deputizing for the fatha, and that is in the sound feminine plural. And the example is درست الطالبات. And why is الطالبات in the state of nasb? It's the maf'ul bihi of the verb درست. وأما الياء فتكون علامة للنصب في التثنية والجمع. As for the ya, it serves as a sign of nasb in dual words and sound masculine plural. والجمع here specifically refers to sound masculine plural. And again, نيابة الياء عن الفتحة. Keep an eye on that. So, and as for the ya, it is a sign of nasb in the dual and the plural forms. So let's look at an example of the dual form. أطعمت الفقيرتين. I fed the 2 poor women. So we can see al-faqiratayni in the default form will be al-faqiratani, but it's experiencing the state of nasb because why? It's the maf'ul bihi of at'amtu, and dual words decline with the ya in the state of nasb. Example would be we didn't have the example of a sound masculine. So what's going on? So we can give an example. أطعمت المسلمين. I fed the Muslims. So al-muslimina we can see will be in the state of nasb because it's the maf'ul bihi and a sound masculine plural form word in the sound masculine plural. So when we say plural forms, we're talking about sound masculine plural. Okay, will decline with the ya. So أطعمت المسلمين. وأما حذف النون فيكون علامة للنصب في الأفعال الخمسة التي رفعها بثبات النون. And as for the omission of the noon, حذف النون فيكون علامة للنصب, it serves as a sign of nasb in the 5 nouns whose nominative case is with the retention of the noon. التي رفعها بثبات النون. When we say أفعال الخمسة whose nominative case is with the retention of the noon, we are referring to specifically يفعلان, تفعلان, which is applicable to 3 cases, and يفعلون, تفعلون, and تفعلين. That's what we are referring to when we say أفعال الخمسة التي رفعها بثبات النون. So those 5 patterns. So those 5 patterns, in the state of nasb, the deletion of the noon is a sign of the state of nasb. So the present tense verb with the suffix of noon normally. So normally you will see takdhibani, but in the state of nasb, the noon removal of the noon is a sign of nasb. For example, antuma lan takdhiba. You two will not lie. Ar-rijalu lan yakdhibu. The men will not lie. Antum lam takdhibu. You all males will not lie. And anti lan takdhibi. You female will not lie. So we got takdhibani, yakdhibuna, takdhibuna, and takdhibina. So the noon would have retained in the state of raf. But because now lan has come and put it in the state of nasb, therefore the deletion of the noon is a sign of nasb. So let's now summarize the signs of nasb. خلاصة علامات النصب. So the primary sign of nasb was fatḥah. Then we had the non-primary signs, which was alif. So these are the ones that deputize and fill in for the sign of nasb. Then we had the kasrah, which is in the sound feminine plurals. And then we had hadfun noon, the deletion of the noon. That is the fa'il mudhari, which normally would retain the noon. When the noon is omitted, is the sign of nasb. So these 4 markers, which type of words do they actually serve as a sign? Which type of declinable nouns? So the fatḥah in singular nouns, so al-ismul mufrad. So we're not talking about dual, plural, masculine. Also in the broken plural, jamu taksir, the fatḥah will be the sign. So we give an example. For example, رأيت رجالا, I saw men. And also in the fa'il mudhari, which has got nothing attached to it. Okay, so the fatḥah will be the sign. So when we say nothing attached to it, we're talking about the noon i'rabi or the noon al-niswa. So yaf'alu, taf'alu, af'alu, and naf'alu. These fa'il mudhari, in the state of nasb, the fatḥah will be the sign. So we'll say lan yaf'ala, lan taf'ala, lan af'ala, and lan naf'ala. The alif is a sign in which type of words? Al-asma'ul khamsa, the 5 nouns, provided that they are mudaf towards anything besides the ya'ul mutakallim. The kasrah, what would the kasrah be the sign of nasb in? In sound feminine plurals. And we get the example of the Quran out as well. أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ جَنَّاتٍ. Then we had the ya. The ya is a sign of nasb in which type of words? Dual words. So and we get the example أَطْعَمْتُ الْفَقِيرَتَيْنِ. I fed the 2 poor females. And also the sound masculine plural. So you can either say أطعمت المسلمين, I fed the Muslims. So in these 2 type of words, the ya will be the sign of nasb. Then we had the retention of the noon. Sorry, the deletion of the noon. So it's supposed to be hadfun noon. So there's a mistake there, not noon. Hadfun noon in ضمير تثنية, ضمير جمع, ضمير المؤنث المخاطبة, when the noon is deleted from these, this is the sign of nasb. So حذف noon, let's actually just annotate it there so it clears things up. So let's just add a box and add the word حذف. So حذف noon is a sign of raf. Sorry, nasb. So حذف noon in these cases, so these will come under al-af'al al-khamsa. So يفعلان, in ضمير تثنية it entails يفعلان, تفعلان times 3. ضمير الجمع will be تفعلون and يفعلون, and ضمير المؤنث المخاطبة will be تفعلين. The deletion of the noon serves as the sign of nasb. So alhamdulillah, we've covered the signs of raf. We've also covered the signs of nasb. Inshallah, next lesson we will be covering the signs of jar. So for now, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.